Welcome to the Gearbox Podcast with Jimmy Purdy. We're bringing together industry leaders and those in the daily grind. Whether you're a tech looking to level up or a shop owner navigating the business, or just here for some real talk about the automotive world, we're finding the common ground in entrepreneurship and picking up some valuable tips along the way. So buckle up, let's shift into gear. Ready to take your shop to the next level? Growing a successful auto repair business takes more than just turning wrenches. You need the right strategy. Repair Shop of Tomorrow helps shop owners boost car count, increase profits, and streamline operations with expert coaching and marketing. Check them out today at repairshopoftomorrow.com and start growing tomorrow.
Gearhead Radio on AM 1230 KPRL and 99.3 FM with Jimmy Purdy is brought to you by Shifting Gears in Paso Robles, 1621 North River Road. Shifting Gears has you covered from your weekend cruiser to your daily commuter. And now let's join Jimmy Purdy on The Right Choice, AM 1230, KPRL, 99.3 FM, and KPRL.com.
Good morning and welcome in. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you being here. This is Gearhead Radio. Phone lines are open, 805-238-5775. Now, if you're just tuning in for the first time, you're probably wondering why you should call. Well, let's talk about what's going on with your vehicle. I am Jimmy Purdy from Shifting Gears Auto Repair, located in Paso Robles, 1621 North River Road. You can check us out online at shiftinggears805.com. We are open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, but today and today only for the next hour. You have my undivided attention, so if you have something you want to call and ask about, I've got about 15 years or so. 15 years professionally, I guess you could say that way, of automotive experience. Transmission rebuilding, emissions repair, general diagnostics, or as we like to call advanced assessments. I don't really like the term diagnostics. It really pigeonholes you into something that, you go to the doctor and you're hoping for a diagnostic, right? And it's just not the same when it comes with vehicles. We assess things. We do tests to then verify the root cause, And I feel like doctors do the same thing, but being that it's covered through insurance, you don't see all those tests being billed. It's just one lump, one copay for everything. Might be a good way of doing the auto industry. You just do it under insurance and just everything's covered through one copay every time you bring your car in. But it's just a really tough thing to call it a diagnostic, because it sets an expectation that's just really, it's not, what's the word for it? It just sets a poor expectation, A lot of the time, say you have a coolant leak. You don't really diagnose the coolant leak. We're going to do a pressure test, and then we're going to see where it's leaking once it's the coolant system's under pressure. Right? It's a test. It's a testing procedure. So I like to call it more of an advanced assessment. Right? Like, we assessed it, we noticed that it's low on coolant. We see there's coolant everywhere. Well, without it being under pressure, there's no way we're going to be able to identify where it's coming from. So then we got to pressurize it. Then we got to fix that leak. And then the next thing about that is, typically, you don't know if there's another leak until you fix the first one, right? So you fix what's leaking, obviously, and then you pressure test it again and see where it's leaking. So that's why we just refer to it as an assessment, but it's advanced because it requires some tooling. Anyway, going off on a tangent there, but it's important. So if you have any questions about that stuff, that's what I'm here for. So 805-238-5775. Phone lines are open. Give me a call. I'll just sit here in silence until you do. Wouldn't that be an awkward hour? All right, let's get you some weather. Today, sunny and 72. It's a nice weekend. Tomorrow's going to be 82, full sunshine. Warming up next week. So get ready for some triple-digit weather by the end of next week. 92 Monday, 94 Wednesday, 95 Thursday, and then it's going to cool off next week. And so next weekend's going to be in the low 80s, full sunshine. But it does look like maybe Thursday we'll hit that 95, maybe touch those triple digits. So it's going to be a little warm. We're getting into June. It's already almost June, so summer is right around the corner. It's pretty mild spring, so definitely want to make sure your AC is in good operating condition. A few things you can do to check that is just turn it on and see if it's blowing cold, right? I mean, that's easy to do, right? Good morning. You're on Gearhead Radio.
Oh, good morning. I can break your silence now.
Hey, cool. I should have just sat here, huh?
Yeah, I've got a question about, in fact, cooling. I've got that 2006 H3 with the 5-cylinder motor in it. And
you're breaking up a little bit, but I think we're talking about you said a 5-cylinder in the Colorado.
I guess it's in the Colorado. That's the H3.
The H3. Okay. Sorry, you were breaking up.
Oh, is it breaking up, or am I on okay now?
You're clear now.
Oh, okay, good. You never know on these cell phones.
Yeah.
Anyway, what's happening lately is like I through cattle, gates and everything else because I'm on a ranch, and I'll have the car. I'll be driving in, and it's not a hot day or anything like that, lately, and the car's idling. And I get out and do the gate, a couple of minutes, and then the temperature starts going up, in the temperature gauge, and it'll get up pretty high. And normally it just sits at right in the center, and then I drive a quarter mile to the next gate, cool again, down to normal. It's just the idling, and then I thought, well, the next time I come in front of a gate, I'm just going to sit in here and I'm going to up the RPMs a little bit. And sure enough, it doesn't get hot. So now I'm thinking it's some kind of airflow through the radiator that's going on, because obviously if I run it faster, I'm putting more air through it. And it's not getting hot. Go ahead.
I think you're right. I think you're onto something there.
The only thing I'm thinking of was a while back when a couple of years ago, I had to replace the radiator in it. I'm a, retired mechanic myself, so I changed it out. But when I separated the AC coils, the condenser, it was a pile of dirt that just
stuck in between.
Was blocking the radiator, right? I couldn't believe how much dirt was in, so before I put the new radiator in, of course, I cleaned everything out. And I'm wondering if not have another...
That's what it sounds like. So a couple quick things on cooling. If you suspect a water pump, blipping the throttle, right? If it's in there and idle and it's warming up, you just kind of blip the throttle. If you notice the coolant kind of drop pretty quickly, not a lot, but if it does drop down a little bit, that lets you know your water pump's circulating. So that's good. Thermostat is always suspect.
I put 3 water pumps in this thing, by the way.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like the water pump, but just for anyone else listening, that's kind of a way we test it too. If it's getting warm at idle and you can up the RPM a little bit and the coolant temp drops about 10 degrees, we're looking at about 5 to 10 degrees, not a lot.
Let us us know
that the water pump's circulating. The thermostat's always one too, but that's typically something that will be stuck. If it's stuck, it's stuck all the time.
It's not gonna circulating it, getting the water to circulate more. Something else. I don't think it's.
So on that one, I would definitely be checking your fan. I don't know if that one's a clutch fan or an electric fan.
It's a clutch fan, and in fact, I've replaced it once.
Have you? Now I've had issues with those the aftermarket ones, the whatever honey they put in for the viscous, that it's just not. You really need the factory one. In fact, there's a video on YouTube. A friend of mine's got a shop in Texas. His name's Ryan Straudeman, and he did a video where he actually cut one of those open and showed the difference of not only how much of that liquid they put in, but just the viscosity. It was like, have you ever seen that Lucas oil? You compare that to like just normal motor oil, and the Lucas is what the factory ones come with, and the normal ones what the aftermarkets are pumping in there. So it works, but it just doesn't. Once it gets hot, it just doesn't hold.
Yeah, although we're not. It gets hot because it's spinning, right?
Yeah, because they use this liquid and it once it thins out, it goes into this little passage, and then that passage is what locks that fan. But it's not viscous enough to stay in that little passage, so the fan's only traveling at like maybe 80% efficient instead of locking down at 100%.
Yeah, and we're not talking about hot days here either.
No, just it doesn't take much for that liquid to get hot, right? It's only supposed to be regulated at 190 to 200 degrees. So,
right.
Yeah, it's working temperatures, right? So it doesn't need to be hot out for that clutch fan to be locked up. But yeah, if you got like a Dorman or a standard, you might want to get like an AC Delco one and see if maybe that helps.
Well, I just got one from the local Napa store.
Yeah, I just haven't had real good success with the clutch fans, the aftermarket ones. Another thing you can do is once it's up to operating temp and you're having that, is shut it off right away, of course, before you touch the fan. But shut it off and then just see how much resistance that fan has. It should have a fair amount of resistance. You should be able to turn it by hand, but it should feel like there's a good amount of resistance. If you're able to like spin it and it just keeps continually spinning, well, there's definitely your problem.
Well, that's back. I'll do that on the next one. Yeah, because that's got quite a few miles on it since I changed it. Because back when I was having some other problem, I changed it because I said, well, it could be the fan.
Yeah. The other thing to do too is if you have a thermal imager or just a radar temp gun, just check the radiator. I like to do the thermal imaging because it shows me if there's any cool spots in the radiator. But you can check like the inlet and the outlet, a couple spots, because I've had a lot of those because the radiator's plastic. I've had them come apart internally. The brand new ones, and they'll come apart internally, and then they'll cause a restriction inside. So, something you could check too.
And would that require replacing the radiator?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Well, but check it with a temp gun and see if you find any cold spots that are in it.
That took me 2 days of part-time. That was an annoying job changing that radiator.
Well, I got to jump on a break. I appreciate the call, though.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. Bye. We'll be right back. You're tuned into Gearhead Radio on AM 1230 KPRL. It is 9:20 a.m. on May 17th, 2025. Thanks for being here. Hey, so before the break, I had a call about some coolant issues on Hummer H3. It's similar to like the Colorados, the 5-cylinder. A lot of this stuff's kind of universal when it comes to cooling problems, unless you have a Volkswagen. And I mean like an older, like a Volkswagen Bug. Or a Corvair. Is anybody picking up what I'm putting down? Because there is no cooling system on those. Okay, good. So, yeah, the stack. That's one thing I've talked about before is the stack, and that's the radiator condenser, transcooler, intercooler, power steering cooler, engine oil cooler, whatever else cooler they want to put on the front of the engine there. And a lot of the time you get a lot of stuff buried in between there because there's not a lot of room, so they squeeze them real close to one another. Just enough room to get some dirt, some water in there, and make yourself a nice, wall of mud that dries and turns into clay. And if you know anything about clay, air doesn't get through it very well, so you're not going to have very good cooling. So you always want to make sure you got a good air flow through that. And the easy thing to do is when it's running and up to temp and the fan comes on, whether it's an electric fan or the clutch fan locks up, you just put your hand in front of the radiator on the other side of the fan. Don't get near the fan. But when it's running, and just see if you feel some suction coming through. You should feel air being drawn through the radiator. It's what we call a high-level indicator because I can't really describe it to you, but once you do it once, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You just feel the air being dragged through the front. And if you don't feel that, then there's a few things we need to look at. We need to make sure that it can get air through, so we want to look through and see if there's any restrictions in the radiator. And then we want to see if the fan's working like it should. Now, if it's an electric fan, that's easy to check. You just see if it's on, right? It should be on if it's at temp. Now, a lot of time with these electric fans, they are staged and they have pulse width modulation, meaning they will ramp from a low speed of 10% duty cycle all the way up to 90% duty cycle. So we need to make sure the fan can work through all the ranges. Good morning, you're on Gearhead Radio.
Yes, hi, good morning, Jimmy.
Hey, good morning.
I have some questions regarding all this stuff that you're talking about on radiators and coolant.
Sure.
The 2005 Toyota Sienna van, and I had some radiator issues earlier last month. And do you still do a pressure test for someone if the vehicle is now not leaking because it's had either bars leak or the silver seal or that other professional brand put in there, and it seems like it stopped everything and you're not dripping water anywhere?
Yeah, if the coolant's not actively leaking or not actively going low, there's no reason to pressure test it. The only time we're going to do a pressure test is just to identify where the coolant's going, because you should never be low on coolant. There should always be coolant in there. It doesn't consume it, so you should always have a level in there. It won't evaporate. It won't go anywhere. So if you're noticing it constantly being low, then we need to pressure test, see where it's coming from. But if you've managed to stop the leak one way or another, then you've solved the problem. So there's no reason to pressure test it.
Oh, okay, good, cool. Now, do you prefer or do you recommend somebody for the summertime with a coolant on the 50/50 brands, or should you use the 100% one?
The coolant, just depending, as long as you're going with what the manufacturer is calling for, whether you want to mix it 50/50 yourself or go 50/50, it needs to be that. So if you want to use the concentrate, you just got to make sure that you're using distilled water to cut that coolant and make sure you're always at a 50/50 blend. So
distilled water, not just straight bottled water, huh?
No, you don't want to use no. And there's a lot. I mean, like RO water can be used. It really just needs to be distilled water. Some of the older vehicles can get away with it, but the newer ones with all the electronics, if you have any sort of mineralization in the water, you're going to have electrolysis starting to build. Not only that, but a lot of the components now are plastic, and so it's that hard water is really, really tough when you put minerals on it, on all those polyplastic components like the radiator and thermostat housing and all the rubber seals that are in there. So it really needs to be distilled water. And then it needs to be whatever coolant the manufacturer is. Now, you can use the premix 50/50. That's fine. In fact, a lot of the Xerix stuff, it just comes that way. It doesn't come in a concentrate for like the Toyotas and the Hondas and stuff, so you don't even need to worry about it. But if you have the choice to get the concentrate and you can get your hands on some distilled water, that's fine. But you just make sure you're getting a 50/50 mix before you put it in.
I got it. Okay. And then also a quick question on a thermostat. Now, I'm not sure what's in there in this vehicle I have now compared to the older one I had before. But in regards to the summertime coming up, and we know how hot it gets around here, even in the shade, what do you prefer and recommend for the temperature percentage? Like 185 is better, higher numbers or lower numbers?
For the thermostat itself?
Yes.
The thermostat really needs to just be, especially if you're dealing with a newer vehicle, it needs to be what the OE specified temperature is. If it's not able to keep itself cool, and I know it gets hot around here, but we're not really in an extreme environment, whereas the temperature doesn't stay in that high range for a real extended amount of time, right? We don't have it like 9 o'clock in the morning till 3 o'clock, so we're not really super extreme here. The vehicle should have no problem keeping itself regulated with the OE style thermostat in there. Now, if you start messing with putting a cooler one in to try to help, the engine run a little bit cooler, there's a potential to set an engine light. The engine when you start the engine, the computer wants to see that engine get to a certain temperature in a certain amount of time. If the thermostat is not regulated correctly, it's going to take too long to get the temp, and then you're going to set an engine light, and you're going to have a whole nother set of problems that you got to deal with. So on the older vehicles, that was an old thing. You could, the old hot rodders used to drill a hole in it or just leave it out. Yeah. Leaving it out was the worst thing you could have done. But you could put a lower style thermostat in there to help it run a little bit cooler. So if you have an old carbureted car from like this, 80s or 70s, yeah, that's fine. But the newer ones, they should have no problem regulating themselves. And when I say newer, I mean like 2000 until now. So like for the last 20 years.
Right. Okay, when you say older cars, though, excuse me, then you're talking like a 04, 05, the
Oh no,
02.
I'm talking like 30 years old. I'm talking like the
30. Okay.
yeah, I'm talking like the 70s, the 80s. Like yeah, you can mess
right.
with the thermostat in there, and you can put a lower one in if you really need to. Once you get into like the 80s with the feedback carburetor system, they really need to be the specified temp because it helps them run more efficient when they're at a certain temperature. That's how they were engineered. But once you get to about 90, 96, 97 and newer, if you start messing with that thermostat, that's when you're going to start having check engine lights come on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you just go with what the book
That's
says
much
on the manual.
Yeah,
that says
okay,
whatever
so we can move on to the next
temperature
slide.
it needs to be.
Yeah, or if you're ordering online or ordering, at the parts
So
counter,
I want to turn
they
it
have
over
it
to
on there. It
Scott
says
Brown.
OE specified temp. So just
He and
tell
I,
whoever
along
you're
with
buying it from
four
that you
other
want the OE
NASDAQ board
specified
members
temp.
as
Because
okay.
they'll have one that says alternative temp, and then it'll say OE specified. So just ask for the OE specified.
Okay. Now, one other quick question. If you have what's that you were just talking about, engine light, on my vehicle, when I was first driving it and finally got it running, the engine light was intermittent. It'd come on sometimes, and other times I'd go to start it, and it never came on. So what's that telling me?
Well, you definitely have an intermittent problem. You really got to catch it when it's on. It could be, so many different things.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really that's a difficult one. If it's not flashing, there's no way I would know without being able to get a scan tool in there. Now you said if it's an 05 or 06, you said.
It's an 05.
Yeah, so it should have stored codes in there. So even without the engine light, the check engine light on, it should have a stored code in the system as long as the battery hasn't been disconnected or it hasn't been cleared. So it should have something stored in there, even though the light might not be illuminated at the time. But if you can't get it out that way, then you just maybe go get yourself a little handle. You can get them on Amazon for like $20 or $30, and that way, the one time you get it to actually come on, just plug it in and see what that code number is, and that'll give you a better idea. Because it could be something as simple as just the gas caps rattling around, and sometimes it's sealing, sometimes it's not. It could be something more major, like maybe a misfire where you're having an engine problem that's starting to develop, but it's not bad enough to cause a constant code. So there's a lot of stuff that could be going on.
And you're talking about plugging that thing in and underneath the steering wheel?
Yep.
That gizmo down below? I call it gizmo.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
The little trapezoid-looking thing.
Yes.
Yeah, you can get those little handheld ones. You plug it in. They're super simple to use. There's like two or three buttons on them. You just say check codes, and it'll beep a couple times. It'll come up. It'll show you what the code is, and then from that point forward, you got some. I like to call it a zip code, right? So now you've taken the whole state of say California, and you've narrowed it down to a zip code. Now we got to find the address, and the address is your problem. So the code itself, I always refer to it as a zip code, and then now we needed to do some assessing on it and figure out what address of the house that we're looking for.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a lot.
Zero in on the problem. Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Jimmy.
Yeah, you're
Appreciate
welcome.
that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for the call.
Have a blessed day.
You
And
too.
I hope your little one, Mallory's doing good.
Oh, I appreciate that very much. Thanks.
Okay. Bye.
All right. With that, I gotta take another break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. You are tuned in to Gearhead Radio on AM 1230 KPRO. Appreciate you being here. If you're just tuning in, you're late. But that's all right. Let me get you up to speed. My name is Jimmy Purdy from Shifting Gears Auto Repair, located at 1621 North River Road in Paso Robles, taking care of all your vehicle needs. We are shifting expectations in the auto industry. That's what we like to say, because it is where shift happens. Got to be careful with that one on the radio. It is where shift happens. You can check us out online at shiftinggears805.com. You can make an appointment there or just give us a call. A friendly staff will help you Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. But today and today only, and every Saturday at 9 a.m., I come on here to bring you Gearhead Radio. So if you have any questions about your vehicle or want some recommendations or just want to chat, 805-238-5775, 805-238-5775, or KPRL, whatever is easier for you to remember. I'm sure if you listen to the station, you know how it goes. Call in, we put you on the air, and we just chat. No big deal. Don't be nervous about it. I can always use a little company. Otherwise, I'm just sitting here talking to myself. So, and as fun as that is, as much as I'd like to hear the sound of my own voice, it's nice to get a little company. So, don't be shy. All right. Well, we're talking a lot about coolant this morning, which is important because it's going to be hot next week. So we want to make sure our vehicles don't overheat. Keep in mind, heat is not just something you got to worry about with it when it comes to coolant. It breaks down lots of different other important things in your vehicle. Batteries are probably number 2. Batteries don't like heat almost as much as they don't like cold. So we want to make sure that your battery is in good condition. If you haven't had the battery tested in the last 2 years, you need to have it tested. I haven't seen a good battery yet last more than 3 years. They just really aren't made like they used to be. So make sure you get your battery tested before the heat wave comes. That's the last thing you want is be sitting there with your kids and have a dead battery. That's the worst thing. Also, tires. You want to check your tires, make sure they're in good shape and they're properly inflated. Keep in mind, it's 1 psi per 10 degrees. So, as you're heading down the highway and it's 110 degrees outside, that asphalt is even hotter, and every 10 degrees we're gaining 1 psi. So if your tires are slightly overinflated when it's cold, they're going to be severely overinflated once it gets hot. So we want to check our tires pressure when it's cold. Cold tire pressure. And if you want to know what the spec is, for about 90% of the vehicles out there, if you open the driver door, there's a sticker stamped on the door jamb. It'll tell you what your cold tire PSI should be front and rear. That's what that vehicle loaded. That's what the engineers and the manufacturers want that tire pressure to be for that tire, for that car, for the weight and all that stuff. So that is part of our digital vehicle inspection process. That's what we do with every vehicle that comes in. We're checking everything from the tire wear to alignment wear to tire pressure, brakes, belts, fluids, your lights, windshield wipers, and everything in between. We make sure we do that with every vehicle that comes in, gives you a full comprehensive report, and it's what we call the digital vehicle inspection because it's available to you digitally. And so you get pictures and everything that's adjoined with it. If you've come in before, you know how nice it is to receive that report. If you have not, I recommend that you do. But if you're curious about it, coming up this next Saturday, we have the Golden State Classics Car Show. So we'll be there handing out coffee. So if nothing else, at least come on down and get a free cup of coffee. We'll be there first thing in the morning next Saturday. But we'll also have our digital vehicles inspection demo set up. So it'll be on a tablet. We'll be able to show you exactly what we're talking about and how comprehensive it is. So I definitely recommend you come by, at least come and say hi, grab yourself a cup of coffee. And if you got a few minutes, be more than happy to show you our process because we're proud of it. Took a lot of time and energy, and we work on it every day. So every day is a school day. Got to be learning. But back to the coolant stuff. So other than that, make sure your AC is working. You know, when it comes to coolant, if you're having overheating issues, there may be something underlying. Kind of left that conversation at the break there about the radiator. I've had issues with they're plastic radiators now. They do fail internally. And so one of the easy things to do is with a thermal imaging, just kind of look to see if you have any cold spots. It'll show up as blue or whatever you have your imager set to. So easy thing to do. The whole radiator should be the same temperature on the way in as it is on the way out. Minus a few degrees for the cooling. But for the most part, you should have the same inlet, same outlet temps going on. And that'll let you know if your radiator's plugged up. Also, if the thermostat hasn't opened up, you'll have, the radiator will be all one temp, and then you'll notice the bottom's a little bit cooler. So that's another way to check. But don't really have too many issues with thermostats anymore. It still happens, of course. But typically, they get stuck open, and then it'll set an engine light for the coolant not getting warm fast enough. It's rare that I'll have an issue with a thermostat that causes an overheat issue anymore. But it does happen. Just because I said it's rare doesn't mean it doesn't happen. I see more internal restrictions of radiators than I see thermostats. So let's put it that way. Anything else I can think of with coolant? Make sure it's flushed. So every time a vehicle comes in, we do a chemical analysis on the radiator and the brake fluid, just to make sure we're checking copper content and brake fluid. I've talked about that before. As the brake fluid becomes to get more and more acidic, it starts breaking down the brake lines. It actually starts eroding the inside of the brake lines, which is not good. So the inside of those brake lines are coated with copper. So as the copper begins to dissolve, it suspends itself in that brake fluid. So what we do is we check the brake fluid for copper content to see how much is in there. And then that's when we recommend it needs to be flushed out. Because once it gets that acidic and that process starts, it starts accelerating itself. So the more copper that gets dissolved into the fluid, the more acidic it becomes, the more it starts dissolving the brake lines and so on and so forth. So we want to make sure once it gets to that point, we are getting that old fluid out and get some new stuff in and stopping the bleeding in a sense. Now, when it comes to coolant, we also do a coolant analysis for the coolant, checking two things, the boiling point, and then we're checking the glycol, the freeze, the boiling point, and then the glycol content. So there's two things that the strips test with that. And most coolant should be flushed every 2 years for if it's just the ethylene glycol. Now, some of the other coolants, you can go up to 10 years. They do have a 10-year coolant for some of the Mopars and some of the other coolants that are out there. So just depending on what the manufacturer spec is when it needs to be flushed. But you never know if someone's topped it off with some bottled water or what might be going on there. So we want to make sure that it has the proper ratio of coolant to water. Make sure it's got that proper 50-50 mix, and then we want to make sure that that hasn't broken down, and we still have all the additives that it needs in there. Now, with when I keep saying newer vehicles, but I don't know, lack of a better term, vehicles in the last 10 years, it's very critical that they have the surfactants and the lubricants and all the different additives that they put in these coolants. Very costly, right? When the water pump fails prematurely on some of these vehicles that run off the timing belt, right? That's a very, very big job. You don't want to have to do that more than you absolutely have to, right? And preferably never in the lifetime of the vehicle. That's what the engineers were trying to design it for. Why did they design it that way? I don't know. The water pump is going to fail, especially if it's running off a timing belt. Like you're going to have to replace that timing belt in the water pump. Sorry, that's the bottom line. But some of them run off the timing chain, and they expected that water pump to outlive the timing chain. And it doesn't always work that way, but that's the thought. And so if you keep your coolant clean and flushed and optimized, there's a possibility that that water pump might not have to be replaced in, say, 200,000 miles. And I've seen it. Maintenance, it's really important. And that coolant flush might seem expensive, but I can guarantee replacing that water pump, that coolant flush ends up being a drop in the bucket compared in cost comparison. So it is important stuff. And if you want to do the stuff yourself, you can go on Amazon. Their Phoenix Systems is the name of the strips that we use. I recommend getting some, and you can test it yourself. They are kind of expensive, but at least that way you can check it yourself yearly and making sure that your coolant is up to date. Sometimes all you got to do is recharge it. You put a little straight concentrate coolant in, and that kind of brings it back up to spec. Now, this is kind of stepping out of the realm of the DIY stuff, because you don't want to be messing around with this stuff and put too much or too little and deal with all that. So, but anyway, the information is out there for you. And I think that's enough about coolant. I do have something I want to bring up I thought was pretty interesting. So if you follow us online, if you're on a social media, if you're on YouTube, we do have a small channel that we're currently working on, putting some more stuff out there. And I bring this up because we're talking about video content, right? Having a video camera and doing content, putting it online and doing YouTube videos and all that fun stuff. Well, here's a fun thing about Volvo's EX90's LiDAR module. You have to be careful about filming cars now. So there was a viral video that recently captured the moment a LiDAR system fried an iPhone 16 Pro Max's camera module. The footage, it was shared on Reddit, it clearly shows the moments the LiDAR module atop a Volvo EX90 damaged the sensor inside the smartphone that was used to record the video. Imagine that, taking a video of a car, all of a sudden your camera phone is fried. especially on an iPhone 16, $1,000. So LiDAR is short for light detecting and ranging. It is the visual cortex of many modern autonomous systems. It works by firing pulses of laser light, often in the near-infrared spectrum, and measuring the time it takes for them to bounce off objects and return. This helps create precise 3D maps, of the surrounding environment. Now, the problem, those lasers, while invisible and generally considered safe for the human eye under regulatory standards, aren't so gentle on the delicate imaging sensors, such as the CMOS chips tucked into the smartphone camera arrays. Most modern smartphones use multiple camera modules with separate lenses to achieve different focal lengths. So when you zoom in to capture a photo or video, the phones typically switch from the main wide-angle sensor to a telephoto module. The lenses used in the telephoto module feature a more focused optical path and smaller apertures, which are ideal for long-distance capture of subjects, but also more susceptible to laser damage. And you won't see the laser lights. You don't see these laser beams. You're just taking a video and all of a sudden your camera stops working. Gotta watch out for that. There's your PSA for today. I gotta take a break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You are tuned in to Gearhead Radio on AM 1230 KPRL. I appreciate you hanging out this morning. The hour just flies by, doesn't it? Goes quick when you're having fun. Hey, speaking of having fun, we have a lot of fun every day at the shop. Yeah, we totally do. It's work, but we try to have a good time. Hey, listen, I got to let you know about one thing for all the local contractors out there. So if you're looking somewhere to bring your fleet of vehicles, I want to let you know that we are offering free towing for your fleet vehicles. Now, we want to make sure we see you at least twice a year. So an oil change, bring it to us. As long as we see you for an oil change, if that vehicle ever breaks down, we got the tow for you. So if you got guys that are on the road, and the last thing you need to worry about is them obviously breaking down. So the thought is we're going to make sure that doesn't happen. That's our first goal. But if it does, we got you. We got you covered. So we'll take care of it for you. So if you're interested in that, come by the shop, give us a call. Any local contractors with a fleet accounts. That's what we're looking for. So free tows for local contractors in the area from Santa Margarita to Shandon. If you're in that area, we are covering your toes. Toes. That sounds weird. We got your toe. It's like I should put something together for that, huh? But like have a big toe. Anyway. Moving on. So before the break, I was talking about damaging your iPhone with the LiDAR sensors. So it's not always going to happen, but it did in this particular instance. As the phone began filming a LiDAR-equipped vehicle, the damage only appeared when the telephoto module was engaged. Means the video shows how the pulsing LiDAR damaged individual pixels on the sensor when the camera operator zoomed in. Then it shows how the image was unaffected when using the wider angle camera module once the operator zoomed out. Wide-angle camera modules can still be damaged via LiDAR systems, but as long as you're standing a few feet away to capture the photo or video, it's unlikely these systems will cause any noticeable damage. So the science behind it, LiDAR pulses enter the camera lens, hit the pixel array on the sensor, and cause overheating or pixel burnout in specific regions, essentially frying the photosensitive substrate image sensor that are relied on to capture exposure information. So manufacturers of LiDAR systems are aware of the potential for damage and typically design them with Class 1 laser safety limits. However, those limits assume human eye exposure, not repeated exposure to digital sensors with focusing optics. So it's like a perfect storm, right? Like the cameras are getting the camera phones are getting better as they're designing this, right? Like it's evolution, it's technology, it's ever evolving, right? It's so they have a certain standard. By the time that standard comes out, like those cameras are now so much better on the phones that they haven't kept up with the technology. That is the ever evolving concern with the auto industry, right? As soon as you get comfortable with something or you're used to something new comes out, right? New technology, a new way of doing something. Sometimes it makes sense, sometimes it doesn't. It doesn't matter. You need to figure it out, right? Like if you're in this industry and you work on vehicles or you've worked in vehicles in the past, you know what I'm talking about. It's ever evolving, and if you don't get with it, you're going to be left out of it. That's the bottom line, and that's why we always say, like, we're shifting the expectations. It's where shift happens. It's a fun play on words, but it's the real world in the auto industry. It's where shift happens. It's always moving forward. We're always shifting forward, moving ahead, and trying to keep up with the times. And trying to keep up with the times. That's the best way to say it, because it's always a new innovation. We got to come up with a new vehicle, a new process that we have to come up with to stay relevant, and that's what makes it fun, right? If we wanted just a normal job, we wouldn't be in the auto industry. That's we all have a little bit of the ADD going on, the ADHD going on, so we got to have something new every day, right? If I was doing the same thing every day, it'd be a little monotonous, to say the least. So it's a double-edged sword, but that is what it is. But your public service announcement for the day, to get back to this article here, is be careful with your new phone. If you're a content creator or you like taking pictures of new cars and videos and stuff, just be aware of it. And now the LiDAR detector on these vehicles is facing forward, so it's the little sensor that's in the windshield, up on top of the windshield, right at the top there. So just be aware of it. It's a good thing to know. For everything, I guess, too. Gotta be careful around the Teslas, too. You never know what's going on with those. Another article I got here, I don't think I have enough time for that one yet. I'll save this for next weekend. Yeah. We got some more stuff we'll just keep on for next weekend. So in the meantime, another shout out, Golden State Classics Car Show next Saturday. Put that on your calendar. The weather's going to be perfect. It'll be a little hot next week, but next weekend's going to be really nice. So I'm sure you probably got a car you're bringing down there. If not, I mean, it's the biggest car show in Paso, at least, but I think in North County. A little bummed they don't do the cruises anymore. And it seems like that's been many, many years, and there's still got a lot of questions about that. And if you didn't know, the Paso Robles cruise night, the big cruise night, they haven't done it for years and years and years. They go to the Warbird Museum, the Australia Warbird Museum, and they have the pre-show party. So that's going to be this coming Friday night. If you're interested in that, goldenstateclassics.org. I don't know if there's any tickets left, but anyway, they do the party out there at the Warbird Museum, and then they do the car show Saturday at the park. That's been going on for years. They haven't done the Paso cruise night in a long time. Now, there's the other rotational cruises that we talk about all the time: Templeton, Atascadero, Paso, Santa Margarita, and San Miguel, if there's a fifth Friday. So every Friday night, there is a small unsanctioned, in quotes, cruise night, and it's typically a few cars kind of cruising around, but for the most part, everyone kind of finds a parking lot and hangs out. It's a great time, especially if you're new to the car community. Lots of friendly people to get yourself involved. And then a lot of these smaller car shows and cruise nights, there's not a lot of marketing budget behind it, so it's really hard to get it out there. So if you know of something, let me know, and I'm more than happy to. We put it on our website, and I'll announce it here Saturday morning. But also, if you start getting into these smaller, unsanctioned cruise nights, and you just get with the community and you start figuring out what's going on, and it's going to be a good season for that. We're going to have a good summer, lots of fun stuff to do. So that's how you get involved with all that. In the meantime, if you need anything for your vehicle, we are there to help at the shop Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. Phone number for the shop, 238-6202. Now, we have a lot of cool stuff online where you can just schedule. So if you Google us, shiftinggears805.com, you can schedule online. It takes you right to our online live scheduler, so you can pick and choose where you want to go. I think that's the easiest thing to do. I don't know. Technology, you know. What's everyone like? Do you like the phone calls? Do you like to do it online? I'd like to take a poll. And I'd like you to call me next Saturday and let me know what you prefer. Do you like calling a business? Do you like, whether you're looking for auto repair or anything else, do you appreciate being able to call and talk to somebody about what you need? Or do you want to be able to do it online? Because even when it comes to ordering from a restaurant, right, Grubhub and Spot On and all that other stuff, you can order a lot of your food just online and go to the restaurant and pick it up. You don't have to talk to anybody. Or do you want to call in and you want to make an order? I want to know. And if you want to let me know right away, you can email us at info@shiftinggears805.com or let me know next weekend. In the meantime, have a great week. Try to stay cool. See ya.
Gearhead Radio with Jimmy Purdy is brought to you by Shifting Gears and Paso Robles on River Road. You can trust Jimmy and his team to take care of you and your vehicle the first time, every time. You're listening to The Right Choice, AM 1230, KPRL 99.3 FM. Paso Robles, Tascadero, and Templeton.
Hey, sorry to cut in, but I got to let you know about our exclusive coaching partner of the Gearbox Podcast, Repair Shops of Tomorrow. If you're ready to take your shop to the next level with proven strategies for profitability, ARO growth, and operational efficiency, visit repairshopsoftomorrow.com and start shifting your business into high gear.